Every Zohran interview goes like this.
Zohran Mamdani.
Oh, I saw this one. This is great. Yeah.
People see you and they assume that you wish death to all Jews. How are you going to convince them you don't? But you do view Palestinians as people. I mean, that makes people uncomfortable, obviously. But do you love Israel? How much do you love Israel? You are obviously Muslim, so I don't really... That's kind of... People don't like that. Your skin's also pretty tan. People are getting uncomfortable. How are you going to convince them that you're not a terrorist? When are you going...
It's so crazy, and it speaks to the permissibility of Islamophobia and how permanent a fixture it's become in American politics, and how quickly Americans like snap back to this shit post October 7. That like questions like this are not immediately condemned. You know what I mean? People don't go, "What are you doing?" Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean that you can like create a victimhood structure around the hysterics of one group and just like that gives you the opportunity to be as racist as you want? It is kind of fucking wild.
When are you going to Tel Aviv? When are you going to Tel Aviv? Andrew Cuomo is representing Netanyahu. Why don't you do that? Is it because you don't love Israel? Why don't you love Israel? Do you think that Israel should exist as a Jewish ethno-state? You seem to think that it's okay to criticize Israel. Why? Why is that? It's because you're anti-Semitic. Okay?
It literally is just like, it's like a racist white guy running around telling like a black person. What is this? Y'all watch Fear In. It's like having a racist white commentator or like a racist white guy running around and being like, well, you're black. Why do you want to kill every cop? As a black candidate, your presence makes me fearful. It makes me feel like you are anti-Christian. It makes me feel like you want to take over the country and make it a black supremacist country. It's like, well, what are we doing? What is this shit? What is this shit? At a certain point, after, I don't know, the 700th time, people should be like, okay, I don't think he's fucking anti-Semitic. I think he's anti-Israel. If you want to have a conversation about that, that's fine. Even though, you know, how much you want to have that conversation, probably not the best time to have that right now if you're pro-Israel, because not a lot of allies around, okay? But it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So much of this is just like being a straightforward racist douchebag and operating under the assumption that your presence as a brown Muslim dude is scary. And your statements as a brown Muslim guy about Israel, extra scary, probably because you're anti-Semitic, right? Must be because you're anti-Semitic. Can you please admit that you're anti-Semitic so that we can fucking finally, you know, let this stuff, let's put this to bed. You're anti-Semitic. You're anti-Semitic. You're an anti-Semitic guy because you don't understand. Your presence scares me. I am a supporter of Israel. I'm not even Jewish, but I'm like thinking about how other Jews are scared of your presence and your anti-Israel positions. So can you stop doing that? I will say the Zohran victory has sparked some interest even from more radical elements, more radical people that I do know that normally would scoff at the DSA into engaging with the DSA and engaging with electoralism. So that's actually kind of cool as well. Now, obviously, these groups are marginal. They're tiny. They're ultimately inconsequential. But like the way I see it is, if you got like well-read, ideologically minded people who consider themselves to be more radical in the DSA or whatever, but refuse to show support of the DSA up until now, getting on board, that means like normies are certainly going to be doing that in droves, right? So that's cool. Here is, I guess, Joe Rogan. I don't know what breezy politics is, by the way. My brother said that he started seeing this breezy politics stuff on his timeline a lot on his YouTube, and he's got like a very normie YouTube algorithm. So I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on there, but he said he started seeing a lot of this breezy politics shit on his timeline.
New York City debates, the mayoral debates.
I got involved, and I'm supporting Mr. Mamdani.
A lot of people are. Well, especially after that debate.
Right.
It seems like everybody else was essentially saying, I've been to Israel more than you've been to Israel. I'm going to go to Israel before you do.
Right. They think they're campaigning to be foreign, minister for Israel or something.
Where would you go first?
The Holy Land.
Go to Israel.
Fourth trip to Israel. First trip to Israel.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City.
That's so awesome. I love Breezy is 100% anti-Semitic. At least the comment section in the videos are explicitly HasanAbi. I've seen it on Instagram as well. Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. I just saw, the only time I heard about it is from my brother. But I will say this. I love seeing the normie perspective and what their takeaway is from this like long interview, like this long debate. It was like 2 hours long, right? And it's so fucking funny that is what remained. That is what that was their primary takeaway, because that's what the media wanted to be the primary takeaway. I think this was a severe miscalculation. Okay. I'll be honest. I think it was a severe miscalculation. They just kept hitting over and over again this like Am Israel high line, and they thought that they could attack Zohran with that at a time when, especially in the Democratic Party, there is an immense amount of resentment towards Israel and the outsized role it plays in American foreign policy. So perhaps not a good line of attack that only ended up promoting the politician that stood against that kind of thing and said, no, fuck that. I'm just going to stay in New York. I'm running for mayor of New York. That's what it felt like to me. And they got lost in the anti-Israel, anti-Semitism angle of attack so hard that they didn't even hit Zohran on like he's inexperienced, he wants to defund the police, he's like pro-gay or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? I think Zohran still would have won in spite of a more aggressive campaign that like a more aggressive messaging campaign against Zohran that featured some of the other things, right? If they were to like actually fucking hit Zohran on like how young he is or how he said he wants to defund the police or all this other shit, like I do think that would have made a bigger dent, but I think he would have still been able to overcome. He would have been able to withstand that pressure. I think he would have been able to overcome all of that pressure. But because they were so invested in the Israel stuff, which is an incredibly unpopular position amongst the regular public, and an even more unpopular position amongst the Democratic voter base, that is an incredibly popular position in the media and in our politics, that dichotomy, that difference in opinion caused them to miscalculate. Because Israel, incredibly popular in Congress, most popular, okay? Israel, incredibly popular in the media, most popular nation state in the media. But amongst the public, Israel is very unpopular, and especially unpopular, like 80% disapproval when it comes to the Democratic Party. And this is a closed primary race for the Democratic Party in the city of New York. So they thought, oh, there's a lot of Jews in New York, and all Jews, as you know, only care about Israel. Classic, right? Like they believe their own bullshit. This goes back to what I constantly think about, I always say, like, are these guys stupid or are they malicious? Oftentimes they're both, right? Oftentimes they're both stupid and malicious. But it does feel like, to me, this much Zohran Mamdani doesn't fuck with Israel sentiment came from a place of stupidity, where they actually believed their own lies, that all Jews care about is Israel. That's all they care about. And there's a lot of Jews in New York. There's a lot of Democratic Party voters that are Jewish in New York. They're super overrepresented in primaries like this. So clearly, because they all care about Israel and the only thing they care about is Israel, if we just hit this line of attack, then you know, Zohran is toast. He's cooked. It's over. They must have believed their own fucking lies. Otherwise, if they were actually smart, if they actually had, you know, even AIPAC's attitude on this, because AIPAC, regardless of how fucking evil it is actually very smart in the way that they run against anti-Israel candidates. They never really talk about Israel. AIPAC does not run ads on candidates, attack ads on candidates, and heavily feature Israel at all. So many of these advocacy groups like Democratic Majority for Israel, AIPAC, these groups and the other ones that they create, these like other corporations and other PACs that they create under the banner of AIPAC without actually even, while trying to hide their association with AIPAC, will oftentimes focus not on Israel, but on attack ads that directly pertain to the race. Because AIPAC understands that they don't give like most people don't fucking care about Israel. Like they don't give a shit. If you were to look at like the millions of dollars that they dumped into the race against Cori Bush, for example, they never talked about fucking Israel. They never actually talked about Cori Bush's opinion on Israel. They never featured that at all, because who the fuck would care in Cori Bush's district about Israel? Are you kidding me? AIPAC knows that. So the fucking dumbasses in both the media and the dumbasses that were in the tank for Cuomo, and Cuomo himself unironically, stupidly believed this lie that like, oh, if they just constantly hammer on this Israel point, then they'll be able to effectively dismantle Zohran's campaign. If they constantly just like keep fucking yelling about how Zohran is anti-Semitic and how he's not sufficiently pro-Israel over and over again, that the Jewish electorate that has an outsized representation in the New York primaries in the Democratic Party will come out and vote against them, not realizing that New York Jews are New Yorkers. They're not fucking Israeli. If they wanted to live in Israel, they very easily could live in fucking Israel. There are a tremendous amount of incentives to go and live in Israel if you're Jewish, okay? There are. You get fucking free healthcare, first and foremost. They will even subsidize your housing. Why the fuck wouldn't you want to go and live in Israel if you cared about Israel that much? The very fact that New York Jews don't want to live in fucking Israel implies that they're New Yorkers. They're American. They're not Israeli.